A concrete truck tilted forward with a deep metallic groan, the massive drum spinning as thick gray concrete churned inside like some kind of slow-motion storm. Meanwhile, I just stood there, hands behind my back, looking about as calm as anyone could be, while HOA Karen shrieked at me from her porch. Picture this. She's barefoot, still in her robe, screaming at the top of her lungs that I'm ruining her life, her property, her future, basically everything short of her immortal soul. But you know what? I barely heard a word. The truck engine was roaring. The driver was sitting behind the wheel, eyes locked on me, just waiting for my signal. And I swear my smile got a little wider as I held up the document she'd signed herself, the one she thought would let her steal my driveway. But thanks to her own handiwork, now let me pour concrete all over her property. That's karma for you. She's yelling she'll call the cops, but the sheriff just steps out of his cruiser behind me, tips his hat, and says, "Go ahead, sir." Everything looks in order. And with that, the truck's chute lowers, there's a hiss, and the first wave of wet cement just erupts across her driveway. Now Karen's face, she's watching her world collapse in real time. But honestly, the real story started way before a single drop of concrete ever hit that pristine driveway. Let me back up a sec, because I moved into this quiet little mountain cul-de-sac thinking I'd found peace. I'd busted my tail for years, saved up for a place at the top of the slope, long curved driveway, a view out over the valley, just the kind of spot you picture when you're daydreaming about making it. I didn't realize I was inheriting a home in a hostile HOA with a president whose life's mission was enforcing rules she made up on the fly. Karen had been there 5 years, and by then she'd run off most of the old neighbors or scared them into submission. Picture a guard dog with a clipboard. She'd stalk the street, eyes sharp for any violation, measuring grass with a ruler, snapping pictures of trash bins, and handing out moral judgments like Halloween candy. It was like living next to a hall monitor with a power complex. At first I tried to steer clear. Thought if I kept it civil-minded, my business things would be fine. I said hello when I moved in. She looked at me like I'd asked to borrow her kidney. Didn't shake my hand, just told me I'd parked my truck too close to a shrub. That was the warm welcome. I probably should have seen the red flags right then. The first week went by pretty quietly, if you don't count the sound of her sneakers slapping the pavement as she patrolled clipboard clutch tight. More than once I'd catch her just hovering near my driveway, squinting at the curve, measuring, walking back and forth like it personally offended her sense of order. One afternoon as I'm hauling groceries in, she stops me and dead serious asks if I had permission to have a driveway shaped like that. I laughed, thought it was a joke. Big mistake. She went on about community aesthetic geometry as if the HOA ran some kind of architectural cult. I told her geometry wasn't really up to the HOA, and you'd have thought I'd insulted her family tree. From that day on, she was gunning for me. It started with passive-aggressive notes taped to my mailbox. Then she filed 3 complaints in one day, saying my driveway slope caused dangerous runoff, might flood the road, she claimed. She even sent a letter accusing me of intimidating neighbors by angling my driveway at them. I honestly laughed out loud when I read that, but the woman was dead serious. Things went from weird to wild when she started inspecting my property after dark. 9 at night, I catch her outside with a flashlight drawing chalk lines along the asphalt. I ask what the heck she's doing. She barks that she's documenting a violation. I tell her to get off my property. She waves her map at me and says the HOA grants her access. This map was drawn in the 90s by someone who'd never heard of a straight line, but to her, it was gospel. But the Wednesday that pushed everything over the edge, man, I'll never forget. I come out for coffee and there's a row of orange cones across my driveway and a sign, temporary HOA access lane. A tow truck's parked nearby. Driver tells me some woman called, said my truck was illegally parked on community property. I tell him, buddy, this is my driveway. He shrugs and points at Karen. She's standing there waving her map like it's the Magna Carta. She's yelling for me to move my truck, or else threatening $10,000 fines. I tell her she can find me a unicorn if she wants because neither one exists. I thought that'd be the end, but no, she's just getting started. That night I see her with some dude in work boots, a tripod, and a laser measure, claims he's a professional surveyor. I ask for his license. He looks down at his shoes. I realize she probably hired him off Craigslist for $20. Next morning, she puts up a new sign at the edge of my driveway. HOA property begins here. I take it down. She puts it back. She adds a chain. I cut it. She screams that I'm threatening her safety and that she'll have me recalled from the neighborhood. I tell her nobody voted for me in the first place. Every day it escalates. She starts blocking my driveway with her car, claiming emergency access. She sits at the end, sipping coffee, refusing to move when I try to leave for work. I record everything, collect every note, every fake violation. I bide my time, knowing sooner or later she'll slip up, and when she does, I'll be ready. That day finally comes. I get home, and there she is out with her tape measure again, muttering numbers. Says she has proof my driveway is 2 feet on HOA land. I tell her I'll only discuss it with a licensed surveyor. She insists her guy's legit. I remind her he's never spoken a word. She claims he's introverted. I tell her introversion isn't a license. She storms home dramatically like she wants someone to cue sad music. Later, my cameras catch her crossing my driveway at midnight, chalking giant X's all over it. Next morning, she drops a letter in my mailbox. The HOA will restore community boundaries. I laugh. Shouldn't have. Because that's when the jackhammers start. 7 a.m. It sounds like the apocalypse outside. I step out, coffee in hand, which I drop instantly. 2 contractors are out there tearing up my driveway, slab by slab, with Karen looking on like she's unveiling a statue. She shouts over the chaos that corrective action has started, driveways coming out to restore proper property lines. I'm stunned, just staring as they break up the concrete. When I finally get my voice, I yell at them to stop, demand paperwork. One of them hands me a clipboard with a form bearing my signature, which looks like it was scrawled by a chicken. The whole document is a mess, misspellings, random underlines, and a logo that could have been drawn by a kindergartner. Karen claims it's legally binding. She witnessed me sign, and it's notarized. Where's the notary? Moved to Canada, but his stamp is valid worldwide. I'm not making that up. I call the sheriff. Contractors keep going. Karen claims she's the HOA authority and has all the paperwork. She's just about vibrating with pride as they pulverize my driveway. She keeps saying reclaim the HOA can move any structure not following the community design. When the sheriff arrives, he doesn't even ask who's at fault, just walks right up to Karen. She launches into her speech, but he stops her with one question. Did you get a license survey before authorizing this? She says yes, all confidence. But when he asks for the paperwork, she freezes, mumbles about recreating the measurements from memory. He asks if I want to file a complaint. Before I can answer, Karen waves a stack of papers claiming they're the official survey. The sheriff flips through and just stares at her because they're hand-drawn maps with colored pencils, smiley faces at the corners, dotted lines marked probably here, and distances like 15-ish feet. He asks if this is a joke. She claims artistic clarity. He tells the contractors to stop. Karen, of course, starts shrieking about overstepping authority, threatening to report the sheriff to the HOA Oversight Committee, which doesn't exist. The contractors step away from their machines. Sheriff tells me the contractors were acting in good faith. They thought the paperwork was real, but that Karen has no authority. He says I can pursue civil damages. But in the meantime, my driveway is toast. Karen overhears and cheers like she won something. She says the HOA can now redesign my property to fit community style, which she defines as a perfectly straight, narrow, lifeless driveway copied from a magazine. I almost laugh, but the damage is too real. Sheriff takes statements, tells me to get a real surveyor ASAP because Karen's just getting started. She walks onto my property, strutting through the rubble, and tells me the HOA will now use my driveway as a community access lane. I ask, access to what? She waves at the woods behind the house, says she's planning a scenic path. I tell her to step on my land one more time and she'll regret it. She gasps like I threatened her life and says she'll report me to the disciplinary board. Still doesn't exist. I call a real surveyor. The next morning, the man arrives, older, steady hands, been through every land dispute imaginable. Even he asks what happened here, driveway mining for gold. I explain every crazy detail. He shakes his head, muttering, "This is a new level of HOA crazy." Half an hour in, Karen storms over, waving her clipboard, shouting that any unauthorized surveying must cease. The surveyor, cool as a cucumber, asks for her credentials. She says she's self-certified by online research and personal experience walking boundaries. The guy just blinks, then ignores her. She bombards him with nonsense about gravitational anomalies and moon shifts affecting property lines. Finally, he tells her if she doesn't leave, she'll be a safety hazard. She storms to the end of the driveway, starts fake phone calling the HOA president, really just her sidekick. Surveyor works 2 hours. Karen paces and peeks, rehearsing her outrage. When he's done, he calls us over Karen's arms, crossed, already acting like she knows everything. But her face cracks. When he unfurls an official map showing my driveway is 100% on my property, no HOA claim, and the kicker, Karen's own decorative border is 27 feet over my line. Her jaw drops. She claims his survey is wrong, that her colored pencil map is better. He points out her north arrow goes diagonal, and one side says maybe slanted here. She snatches it back, hisses the HOA already reclaimed the land. The surveyor says no HOA can override legal property lines. She explodes, yelling about being persecuted, that my driveway is an eyesore. The surveyor tells me he'll have the official report ready by afternoon and leaves Karen following him, yelling about conspiracies. I expect her to back off, but she comes back swinging, waving her guidelines and demanding I rebuild the driveway to HOA specs. I ask where it's written. She waves a wrinkled magazine cutout. I tell her it looks like a driveway for people who hate turning their steering wheel. She threatens fines, claims community emergency. Then the HOA president lumbers up, half asleep, smelling like expired milk. When asked, he says he can't recall declaring any emergency, but maybe Karen twists this into gospel. I show them the survey. Karen accuses me of bribery. HOA president nods along like a bobblehead. I say, we'll use the legal system next. Both of them. Panic, wanting community mediation, meaning do what Karen says. I walk away, but a realization dawns. Her forged relocation form has a loophole. Any driveway removed by HOA correction can be rebuilt on adjacent property, signed by Karen herself. It's like the universe handed me a crowbar for poetic justice. I gather more evidence, find more forged forms, and get witness statements from the contractors. They're mad they got duped, happy to help. HOA president even admits Karen pressured him into signing a form he didn't read. He'll testify. Neighbors start asking questions. Karen's spreading rumors about driveway spirits haunting my house. She's self-destructing. The next day, the surveyor returns. Karen tries to present a new glitter glue map. Surveyor's laughs. Sheriff arrives, tells Karen she's losing. She explodes, admits to forging forms right in front of him. Sheriff looks at me and says, "You've got everything you need." And for once, I really do. I gather it all, and now, thanks to Karen's own paperwork, I can pour a replacement driveway wherever I want by her own legal rules, even on her property. I call the concrete company, send them the forms. Dispatcher laughs, but says it checks out. Sheriff agrees to show up for the pour. On the big day, the truck rolls in. Sheriff parks. Neighbors step outside like it's showtime. Karen bursts out, robe flapping, screaming, "Stop." I hand her the forms, her own signature, the clause she wrote. She turns white as a sheet, says, "That's not what she meant." Sheriff says, "You told us it was binding." She blocks the driveway. Sheriff warns her. She finally moves. The truck backs up, chute drops, concrete flows out thick and perfect, covering every inch of her precious pavement. Karen drops to her knees, sobbing, but nobody comes to comfort her. When it's done, the driver admires his work. Sheriff congratulates him. Neighbors clap. Karen is left sitting in the dust of her own bad decisions. And the best part, all of it, every bit of it done by her own rules, her own signature, she's alone out of power, out of luck. But even that's not the end. The county sends an official letter, property lines updated, decorative border, and half her driveway now legally belong to me. Karen's face when she reads it. You just can't script that kind of shock. She tries every trick, waving her rules, blaming everyone but herself. Nobody's buying it anymore. And when the final letter comes, HOA puts her under investigation, strips her of all authority, bans her for life. She screams at the sky, realizing the one thing she loved controlling most had slipped right out of her hands thanks to her own arrogance. So let me ask you this. If someone forges their own downfall, is it justice or just cosmic comedy? Would you have handled Karen differently? Let me know down below. Drop your own stories, your own HOA nightmares, or what you think counts as real justice. Smash that subscribe if you want more madness. And hey, don't forget to check your driveway. You never know who's drawing lines in the dark.